Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to Kendo Rant. We've got loads of questions today. All these questions either from comments from the last video or from the Kendo Show Early Access group on Facebook. If you're not in that group, make sure you get in the group. There's a link in the description down below. It's a great place for you to post questions for these videos. And before we get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing, and do your shopping at KendoStar.com. KendoStar.com, of course, is my website that sells wonderful, fantastic, amazing Kendo equipment, the best in the world, if you ask me. And most of our customers seem to agree. If you look at our Trustpilot rating, if I can get my words out today, if these videos bring you any value whatsoever, then yeah, you need to be shopping at KendoStar.com to make sure that we can carry on bringing them to you. So first question, I have a question by Extra Physical Workout to improve my Kendo. I noticed from strong high-level senshu, all seem to exhibit some strong and crisp body movement, whereas weak players' bodies tend to sway a lot between strikes. Is that mostly from strong core muscles? If so, how do you recommend training? Thank you, as always. Right. So yeah, I don't know if it's from strong core muscles or stuff like that, but what I can definitely tell you it's from correct ash sabaki. All right, so they've got good footwork. It means that they're using their feet effectively and they're using their lower body as a stable platform for their movements and how they maneuver around the shiaijo. So the best way to improve that is practice ash sabaki, practice uchikomi, practice kakarieko, all right? And that stuff comes, all right? Next one, the question's a bit late for the rant. This is from last week's question that I put out on the early access group. So yeah, I missed it off last week, but here it is for this week. Are there Kendo clubs out there that are run as businesses? I've seen karate and judo dojos run as such, but I've only been exposed to Kendo dojos that are run as non-profit clubs, where all the funds collected are plowed back into the dojo. How does the Kendo community perceive dojos that are businesses? So yeah, it is a little bit rare to see dojos that don't that make any sort of profit or certainly reimburse financially the instructors. Certainly in the West anyway, or outside of Asia. I've heard that there are in Korea, it's quite a popular method of running Kendo clubs, and in Japan too. I've heard of clubs in Japan that are run that way. It's not that unusual, to be honest. It does seem to have some sort of negative connotation to be sort of receiving payment for teaching Kendo. I'm not sure I totally see why. We were happy to pay for instruction from, to benefit from the experience of other teachers like piano or football or tennis or something like that. In Japan, like I say, it's quite normal to receive payment for teaching Kendo, whether that's at a club or whether it's at a school. It's quite normal. But for some reason, we've kind of, it seems to be perceived not always in a super brilliant light. It seems outside of those countries. So yeah, I don't really know. You don't see it so often. Next, hi Andy, I'm planning to purchase a carbon fiber shinai. I don't know whether to buy a normal or door body. What are the differences between them in terms of handling and reliability? Have you experienced with training with them? I'd really appreciate if you talk about them or even show the differences. Right, well, I'm not going to show the differences because I don't have them here, but basically, the normal one is shaped like a regular practice shinai. The door body one is a bit fatter, nearer the hands and thinner nearer the tip. But because it's carbon fiber, to be honest, it's still pretty durable as well. I wouldn't say there's a massive difference in durability, and you'll get a slightly better balance out of the door body version. What you will find, though, about carbon fiber shinai, though, is that they're very flexible, bendy, as it were, and they do have a very different feeling to bamboo shinai. So most experienced or high-level kenshi tend to prefer the bamboo shinai because of the feedback that it gives on the striking. But if you're doing lots and lots of training, especially in a climate that's difficult to keep shinais well hydrated, they can be very good in that situation. For example, they originally came about for schools to buy them in Japan, to have them sort of at the school as school equipment for when kids that don't do Kendo had to do Kendo as part of PE. That's why they were invented, actually. They were invented as a low maintenance, durable option rather than a nice, balanced, nice feeling shinai, if that makes sense. Next one, please discuss the concept of sen. Well, that's a whole video on its own. But basically, there's the concept of sen itself means taking the initiative, or I like to call it taking the initiative. So when you're having the kind of match or the interaction with an opponent, it's that who presses the start button, if you know what I mean. I talk about it a lot in the analysis videos that we do. Hopefully I'll get one of those up tomorrow. I didn't manage to get one up last week. Super busy at the moment. It's that time of year, obviously. But yeah, I mean, go and watch some of the analysis videos I've done, because I talk a lot about it in that. Next one. Hello, I'm getting ready to become a Shodan. I've always told myself that I would treat myself to a new Borgo. My question, would it be better to buy what I need, like the individual parts, instead of buying the entire set? My Kote is still good, and so is my door. I'm really thinking of just replacing the men. Thank you. Any insight would be great. Well, it depends how much you practice. If you practice more than once a week, certainly if you practice more than twice a week, you'll need more than one pair of kote anyway. But it's always cheaper. It's always cheaper in the long run to buy a set, all right? Because those manufacturers, we get it cheaper from our suppliers, or it's cheaper for us to manufacture as a set, or it's cheaper for us to import, or whatever, as a full set. So that's why you'll find that if you buy the parts individually, it tends to be more expensive than buying a full set. So if you can afford to buy the full set, that's the best option. Two reasons for that. Like I say, one, it's cheaper in the long run, and it does look better when the whole thing's a matching set, rather than all the bits different, things. It does tend to look better. But if you're on a budget, then get yourself a decent men. Obviously the door and tare are less critical if they're in perfect working order, the ones that you've got already. But you could just get yourself a men. But I'd recommend picking up a pair of kote as well at the same time, because it's always good to have a backup pair of kote no matter what. Okay, next question. When do you say keigo with a hard K versus geiko with a G sound? Okay, so the word is keigo, okay, with a hard K. That's the word. Now, in Japanese, when words are said sort of in succession, or two words are put together, they sometimes soften the sounds. So the word is keiko. You never just say geiko on its own, all right? But sometimes you might say kakari geiko, all right? Kakari geiko, because it's the word kakari and keiko put together, and it's easier to say. It's kind of more fluid. It's common in Japanese for the K sound to become a G sound. And there's several of those as well. There's several other ones too. Generally it's K. It's not incorrect either to say kakari keiko. It's not incorrect. It's just a little bit odd. Most people say kakari keiko or jigeiko or whatever, asageiko, that sort of thing. All right. Generally, if it's the word on its own, it's hard K, and if it's stuck with another word, often it's a G sound. Right, next one. Good exercises to strengthen your legs to have better push-off when doing strikes. I assume you mean you'd like me to tell you about some. Fumikomi suburi. Okay, so it's like a lunge when you do suburi. I think that's the best one to do. Do the lunging suburi. Or you can do the matawari suburi, or what's called, it's sometimes called koshiwari suburi, where you have your feet wide apart in like a horse riding stance, and either as you cut, lower down into a squat, or you can stay in the sort of squatted position and do the suburi that way. All right, those sort of things I think are quite good for it. Otherwise, go to the gym. Next one, comprehensive kata videos for all gradings. What's needed for Q gradings versus down gradings? Okay, so I'm working on that. All right, I'd like to do that at some point. I haven't filmed it at all yet. I'm still really working hard on the Kendo 0 to Shodan series. I'm being rammed with stuff at the moment, but I am doing my best to get to that. And I do want to do a comprehensive kata series. But in terms of what's needed for Q grades versus down gradings, generally, it's the number of kata, right? And for the most part, if you do all the kata right and don't make any mistakes, you pass at pretty much most dan levels. I don't know for 7th and 8th dan. I haven't done those yet, but so far, so good. Right, next one. would you ever consider a buyback or exchange program for KendoStar Junior Borger? As a child might grow out of a Borger set or quit the activity, it might be helpful to exchange the set for credit towards an adult Borger set. Also, might this allow for the option of buying refurbished junior Borger sets? Your equipment is so high quality, perhaps such a program would make it accessible for families that don't have the ability to buy a Borger set, only to buy another one just a couple of years later. Might also provide a second life of perfectly good Borger that would otherwise be sitting in a closet somewhere. I totally understand if this just wouldn't work for either your business model or the KendoStar brand. So this seemed to be a really popular question, and I like it in principle as an idea. And it's something I've been thinking about now for a couple of years, if I'm honest. I really think there's something in it, right? I just haven't figured out yet how to make it work, all right? Obviously, it has to be something that's viable both for the people that are trading in the Borger and also for KendoStar as a business to be buying it back and refurbishing it and then selling it on. And that has to be kind of worth everybody's time and money, if you know what I mean, for want of a better term. I don't just mean ours, I mean like the customers as well. You know, there's no point us doing that if it's only an extra like $20 to buy the brand new set, right? I don't know. It's something I'm looking into, all right? And yeah, I'm not saying yes, but I'm also not saying no, all right? So yeah, we'll leave it vague. Next one, developing explosive power, best through the usual more kendo specific best through the usual more kendo or specific strength, power, conditioning exercises. It's a combination of both. Do more kendo, do astabaki practice, some of the saburi that I talked about, kakari geiko, chikomi geiko, kirikaishi, they will all help with that. But if you go training at the gym as well, anything that's going to work on your sort of core strength and your lower body strength is definitely going to help you with those sort of things, okay? Next one. In 100 years' time, how would you imagine Kendo Shinai, Gi, and Borger to have changed? I'm sure they will have changed in lots of different ways in 100 years' time. I mean, look at how it's changed over the last 100 years. Maybe we'll be using like lightsabers and all that kind of cool stuff. I don't know though. Velcro. I don't think so. Maybe. You never know. Maybe you never know. All right. The industry is moving forward all the time. The Shinai is quite an interesting one. It hasn't changed in decades, right? So I'm not sure how that might change. We might get better quality fittings and stuff perhaps in the future with developments of different or better qualities or better sourced leathers. Might have more, obviously a different style of kendogi. I don't know. I've never thought about how's it going to be in 100 years' time. I'm trying to still figure out how it's going to be next year. So, right, next one anyway. Any tips on how to make junior inexperienced fighters connect with you and get in the zone when fighting? As a clarification, when they start stepping back or retreating. So, whether it's a junior or somebody less experienced than you that's an adult, you need to, as a senior, you need to be encouraging them to make positive attacks. All right. And the way I'd be doing that is I'd be engaging them clearly, but offering them clear opportunities depending on the level. If they're quite junior or inexperienced, I'd be offering clear opportunities. And if they step back or try to block, I'd make a strike. And if they continue to do that, I'd tell them, attack now, come on, hit men, go, this sort of thing. And I'd be offering verbal encouragement whilst I'm practicing at the same time. Next one. I'm trying to find myself on the page. There we go. Hello, Andy. I have a problem with my door. My left elbow annoys me because it touches the armor when I hold the Shinai and Chudan. Is this normal? Or is it that the door is too big or my positioning is bad? So it could be that the door is too big. You can easily adjust it. I've got a video how to adjust the door. Type in search bar after you finish watching this video, of course, the Kendo Show resize door, and it's the first one that comes up. It could be that. It's more likely though that your left hand is probably too close to your body. All right. So it's a bit of a tight camera angle here, so I can't quite show you, but probably your left hand the distance wants to be at least 2 fists away from your abdomen. All right. So not your belly button. That's too high. All right. If it's at the height of your belly button, that's too high. So that's one reason your elbow will be too bent. All right. It doesn't need to be the level of your belly button. It should be below your belly button and about 2 fists away. All right. If it's closer than that and it's too high, that might be why it's rubbing against your door. Okay, next one. Hello, in the UK, is there any way to get a door repaired or do simple repairs like replacing the Hedikawa by yourself? Replacing the Hedikawa isn't something that's super simple and you can do by yourself. Doing the Chichikawa is not too hard. Look, fire me an email, mail@KendoStar.com. We'll let you know what's possible and what kind of repairs you could do by yourself and what we can supply you with to do that. Or if you want to send it to us, we can maybe get it sorted out for you and what that would be like in terms of costs. Next one. My question is regarding Sampo Mamoru. The thing is that in my dojo, my sensei hate when someone does that and often says, if you have time to defend, you have time to attack. I know that this is not what you should do if you're trying to do proper and correct kendo, but when we train with the national team, the coach, which is higher down than my sensei, is completely fine with it. And he says that for Shiai, you're able to do it because it's a competition. However, back at my dojo, my sensei does not let me practice that in Jigeko. And I've tried to speak with him, but he's not letting me practice that technique. My question is, do you think I should practice it when I'm on the national team's regular practice and not on my dojo, or just listen to my dojo sensei and not do it at all? What do you think about this in Shiai and also in regular practice? Have in mind, I've seen members of the Japanese national team do it. Thank you for reading it. So, right. Sampo Mamori, okay, is where it means the 3-point defense, okay? It's often when somebody holds a shinai like this, they're trying to hide their men and their kote and their do at the same time this way, all right? It's not a great way to defend yourself. It's not a great way to defend yourself. It's a kind of last chance thing. You don't want to practice doing it, all right? You don't want to be actively trying to do it. The Japanese national team do it when they're in a real pinch, all right? In a real pinch. None of them do it excessively, like all the time. They do it when like they're literally caught off guard. And don't forget, these guys are fighting at an elite level, yeah? They're caught off guard. They're in a real pinch and suddenly, I've got to defend themselves. And usually they'll do it at the same time as moving their feet, all right? They'll usually be closing the distance when they do it. Right. So I think this is a question lots of people have. So how should we best address it? Okay. So here's the thing, right? When you're practicing with sensei, your sensei or any other sensei, you shouldn't be doing that sort of defense. All right. It's not going to help your kendo. It's not going to make you a better competitor. And the Japanese team, when they're practicing with their senseis, they don't do it. All right. They don't do it. Right. Because you're not trying to win when you're practicing with sensei. It's not a competition. So when you're practicing with your sensei, you need to be just making positive attacks. Don't try to defend. Don't try to block with this kind of sampo mamori. It's just not going to help your kendo. In Shiai, all right? In Shiai, the goal is to win without getting hit. So yes, it's okay to do it, all right? Now, here's the thing, right? You have to be able, right, to separate in your mind what the purpose of each interaction is. If you're doing keiko, you're doing jigeko with your sensei, or even with your people in your club, you shouldn't really be doing loads of the sampo mamori, right? Because the purpose of jigeko is to polish your ability at kendo. It's not to practice your blocking techniques, right? So as much as possible, you should be going proactive. You should be trying to attack, and you should be trying to keep, not defending that way. It's really easy to beat somebody that uses that a lot, by the way. There's a video about it that I did called How to Beat a Blocker. That's why the Japanese team don't use it excessively. Now, that means you have to be able to, right, I'm with my sensei, or I'm doing my regular jigeko. I'm trying to do my positive, proactive shikake waza. Yeah, that's what you really want to be working on. Then you go to your national team practice. I wouldn't even be doing that with your with the national team teacher either. All right, I'd just be still doing that sensei keiko. Okay, trying to attack positively. Don't care so much if you make the valid strikes or not. Just try to attack with stemi and make the good If he allows you to strike him or her, then you make the good yuko datotsu. Yeah, that's what you have to do. Then when you do shiai, it's a different mentality, okay? Then you have to win, all right? And if you're in a pinch, you can block, all right? You can block with the sample mamori if you want to. But bear in mind, if somebody's really good, they're going to beat you because it's not a catch-all, right? It isn't a really great way to defend yourself. The best way to defend yourself in kendo, as your sensei said, is to attack. If you've got time to be doing this, then it means you've lost already, all right? You've actually lost. Now, in the shiai, actual shiai, it doesn't mean you've lost because you might have defended yourself from a point. But what you're really trying to do is you're trying to take the initiative, make the opportunity for waza, and make a fantastic strike. And when you're able to do that, that's when you're really, really benefiting from what kendo has to offer. So don't get caught up on it too much, all right? When you're at your national team practice, maybe with the other people that are attending that practice, you're doing keiko with them, or you're doing ippon shoba. If you're doing ippon shoba, that's the same, yeah. It's shoba. So then you can block, but don't actively try and do it, yeah. If you feel like they're coming to attack you and you aren't ready, and you've got nothing else to do, yeah, of course you can defend yourself. But when you're against your sensei or other senior sensei, just try your best to use as much kakewaza as you can, and with full stemi, and try to make the yuko datotsu. Okay. Next one. Right. What are the best ways to climb stairs in hakama? Tiptoe or just lift it up like dames used to do? Yeah, I'm all about lifting it up like the dames used to do. Woo. Right. Next one. A while ago, a beginner asked me, will kendo get me fit? I can't recall what I said at the time, but I've thought about that question a bit since I've come round to that idea. For those of us that have done kendo for an extended period of time, it's not so much a case of kendo getting us fit as much as it is that we stay fit to do kendo. Sounds a bit Yoda. What do you think? Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think kendo gets you fit, to be honest. It's, there's loads of like fat dudes that are really good at kendo for a start, but it isn't like a good fitness regime. But if you are fit, then you do, it does help your kendo, yeah. And especially as you get older, it's better to stay in shape so that you can continue practicing kendo. Yeah, so I definitely agree with you on that. Next one. In the different types of keiko, how can I be a good motodachi to my peers and seniors? I find myself as a beginner terrified when I'm paired up with a senior. Quite terrified. Don't be terrified. That's the idea. You're supposed to be trying to overcome that terror, right? So when you're with your peers, you should be trying to practice all the waza that you know, try to make a good opportunity and try to make a strike. When you're with your seniors, you should be trying to make positive shikake waza, as I said before, without regard for whether you're struck or you received a dabano waza or strike, all right? Especially if you're quite new, you should be doing your best to overcome that fear that you've got of being struck. You've got Borgo on, all right, so you're quite safe. You can keep attacking and try to make the valid strike when the sensei allows you to do it, okay? Next one. I'm curious whether you could give me advice on something I'm trying to change about my kendo. In shiai, when I block, I make sure to do it without raising the shinai too much so that I can quickly go back to my kamae without doing too big of a delay. My problem is that sometimes I notice that my opponent didn't anchor his back foot and he kind of strikes with it in the air, leaving him off balance. In my opinion, that kind of situation would be ideal for Ojiwaza, given that I'd still be in a good stance to strike from the block. However, since that usually isn't my tactic, I always have this weird delay that lets my opponent catch up. Now, the question is, I use Kakarigeko to prime myself to attack at opportunities, but what is a good way to train my awareness to opportunities like that since Kakarigeko isn't doing the trick? I think you just haven't done enough Kakarigeko, to be honest, because that's the only way to train that, and it's the best way to train it, and it's pretty good at training those instantaneous reactions. But yeah, probably either. Now, I'm meaning this in the best way, all right? I'm meaning this in a way to help you, all right? So don't hate on me, but either you've not done enough or you're doing it wrong, okay? Or a combination of both. Yeah, but just do your best. Do some more Kakarigeko. Secondly, though, here's a better answer for you. You might prefer. that isn't the ideal time for Ojiwaza, all right? It's not ideal. Ideal Ojiwaza isn't like a reflex, like suddenly he attacked and you were instantly able to just make some magical reflex attack. That happens sometimes, and that's great, and that is why you should hammer Kakarieko loads, so that you have the ability to do that when that sort of snap decision happens. You can do it, yeah? But the ideal Ojiwaza is when you push their start button, you take the sen and you go, right, come on then, and they make an attack, which is the one you wanted them to make, and you just set up this beautiful Ojiwaza that makes the Shimpan go, oh yeah, that was a good one, let me put my flag up, all right? That's what you really want to be working on, all right? So don't worry too much if you don't catch all of those chances that you think are there, because you didn't feel like your reflexes were up for it. You really want to be working on making that chance to make your opponent, in a way, making them give you the opportunity to give you Ojiwaza on a plate, for want of a better term, all right? That was the last question. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. But don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Join the Kendo Show Early Access. And yeah, shop at, where is it? KendoStar, KendoStar.com. Yeah, if these videos bring you value, of course, you wouldn't watch them all for free and then not buy from me, would you? Anyway, right, see you all next time. Bye-bye.